Good morning, boys and girls. Happy Monday. Today we're going to be reading Martina the Beautiful Cockroach in our big book. We're only going to be reading pages 194 through 201. We're going to break this story apart to about 5 to 6 pages a day because it's a pretty long story, but we're going to do it together so we'll be perfectly fine. So, throughout this story, we have different skills that we've been learning. So let's go over them a little bit. So our folktale, our genre for this lesson is a folktale. A folktale is a made-up story. It cannot happen. So we have animals talking. In this case, we have cockroaches talking. And we have the author trying to give a lesson. The author is trying to give you a message to take away from this story. So the author's purpose, usually throughout folk tales, is to entertain. They try to entertain you so then you could take away the lesson as well. So, good readers can determine an author's purpose for writing. The author's purpose is why they have chosen to write the text. Okay? So, usually in a folk tale, it is to entertain. We're not being informed because we're not getting facts and information. Cockroaches definitely don't talk, so that's not a fact. Okay? So, persuade. We're not trying to convince someone. Okay, so we could knock those twos out because we're not hearing about facts and information and we're not trying to convince someone to do something. Okay? Throughout this passage, you're going to be able to predict. You're going to see a pattern of being able to predict what's going to happen next. So good readers make predictions about what will happen next in a story. A strong prediction is based on evidence in the text. Okay? Now, you're going to hear some descriptive words to describe the characters, to describe the setting, to describe what is going on through the text. And with those descriptive words, you're going to be able to put a picture in your head. You're going to be able to visualize. So, good readers visualize the story as they read by using descriptive words from the text to create a mental picture. So, those descriptive words we've heard a lot about, which are adjectives. We're going to be able to use our adjectives to paint that picture in our head, okay? We also have synonyms. Remember, synonyms are words that have similar meanings, okay? So, happy, we can sometimes give a synonym for excited. When you're happy, you're excited about something as well. So, we have synonyms as well. So, we always read our questions before we read the passage. So what we're going to do, just like we did last week, we are going to read our questions for that page. And then we'll move on to the next questions once we get to the next page. Deal? So, number 1 says, look at the illustration on pages 194 through 195. Is this going to be a story about a real cockroach? How do you know? So let's look at our page. Now, I see a cockroach. I don't know if you've ever seen a cockroach like that. I have not. I have never seen a cockroach like that. So, how do we know that this cockroach doesn't exist? This isn't about a real cockroach. We're not learning about the insect of a cockroach. This is a fake cockroach. And on the other page, we have a cockroach holding a spoon. I've never seen a cockroach holding a spoon. So, how do we know that this isn't about a real cockroach? Number 1, one of the cockroaches has eyelashes, has a little mole, and another one's holding a spoon. So that cannot happen in real life. One of the elements of a folktale. It cannot happen in real life. And an insect is getting human characteristics. That cannot happen in real life. All right, so let's read page 195 together. Remember, we are in the big book. Sorry, it's taking a little bit to play.
Martina, the Beautiful Cockroach, a Cuban folktale. Retold by Carmen Agra Didi. Illustrated by Michael Austin. Martina Josefina Catalina Cucaracha was a beautiful cockroach. She lived in a cozy street lamp in old Havana with her big, lovable family. Now that Martina was 21 days old, she was ready to give her leg in marriage. The Cucaracha household was crawling with excitement. Every señora in the family had something to offer.
So in the beginning, it tells us a Cuban folktale. already I've heard different things that kind of tell us and give us hints that it's a Cuban folktale, like the word señora. And also the setting. She lived in a cozy street lamp in old Havana. So we know that there is Havana in Cuba. So we get little characteristics and little hints about this being a Cuban folktale, okay? It has from that culture, from the Cuban culture, we're going to hear different things and different hints, okay? And also, a synonym for offer. Think about a synonym for offer. Every señora in the family had something to offer. A synonym that we could think of for offer is to give, something that we can give, right? And also, do you think you'd be able to get married at 21 days old, or do insects even get married? No, of course not. So that's another element that we know that this is not a true story. Okay? Now, let's move on to page 196 and 197. Now, we know that they are trying to get her a husband. They're trying to find her. They're saying, oh, she's ready for marriage. So let's look at our question. Folktales often present a problem and then use the solution to teach a lesson. What is the problem in this story? So let's listen.
Tia Cuca gave her una peñada, a seashell comb. Mama gave her una mantilla, a lace shawl. But Abuela, her Cuban grandmother, gave her un consejo increíble, some shocking advice.
So we hear some Spanish words, another hint of the Cuban culture, but we also hear that they're giving un piñate, which is to put in your hair, or una mantilla, which they usually give in weddings. They give una mantilla to put on top of the husband and the wife once they're getting married. So they're giving her things to get married. Now, what is the problem of the story? Does she have someone that she can marry? No, so her problem is she's trying to pick a husband. She's trying to find a husband. She's like, wait, I have no one yet. Yes, there's many things to offer, but I don't have anyone. So let's see what that shocking consejo is with Abuela. Now, let's look at our questions for page 198 to 199. We have, what is the shocking advice that Abuela gives Martina? As we can tell, Martina is going to be our main character. That is who we're mainly talking about in the story and who's in almost every page so far. Number 2, how will this help Martina solve the problem of picking a husband? Based on the context of the conversation the characters are having, what might be a synonym for suitor? So we're going to pay special close attention to that word suitor. And remember to look at the context clues around you in that sentence. So we're going to read page 198.
You want me to do what? Martina was aghast. You are a beautiful cockroach, said Abuela. Finding husbands to choose from will be easy. Picking the right one could be tricky. But, stammered Martina, how will spilling coffee on a suitor's shoes help me find a good husband?
So her shocking advice, she's like, what? You want me to do what? She wants her to spill. So Abuela wants her to spill coffee on top of the suitor's shoes. Now, to find a good husband. Now, we heard the word suitor. How will spilling coffee on a suitor's shoes help her find a good husband? Now, suitors. We hear the word good husband. So, how will spilling coffee on a suitor's shoes, so on the suitor's shoes, help me find a good husband? So she wants her to spill coffee on someone. That someone is trying to be a contender to be her husband. So the suitor is actually someone that is trying to be her husband. Okay? A possible husband. Now, what is the shocking advice? It's that she wants her to spill coffee on those contenders, those possible husbands. Okay? So we have to see Would you do that? I don't think I would do it. But let's see why she tells her to do that.
Her grandmother smiled. It will make him angry. Then you'll know how he will speak to you when he loses his temper. Trust me, Martina, the coffee test never fails.
So she tells her to spill coffee on them because you're able to see how mad they really get and how they could handle their temper. So she's saying, oh, yes, it might sound crazy, but you're able to really see someone, how mad they get, how they handle their anger towards their possible next wife, right? So she's saying, it might sound crazy, but you'll see. Let's read the next page.
Martina wasn't so sure. Meanwhile, Papa sent El Perico, the parrot, to spread the word. Soon all Havana, from the busy sidewalks of El Prado to El Moro Castle, was abuzz with the news. Martina, the beautiful cockroach, was ready to choose a husband.
So now she's ready to choose a husband. Do you think that she's actually going to do the coffee test? Let's find out. Now, what I found funny a part of this text, you know how sometimes people could say, oh, you talk so much just like a parrot, or use that expression about how parrots talk a lot. Well, it's funny that they sent out a parrot to go and spread the news, spread the buzz about Martina needing a husband. So let's turn to our next page to see what happens. Do you think she's going to spill the coffee? Do you think it's going to work? Do you think Abuela's advice is actually going to be good advice? Let's see. Now, our questions for page 200 to 201. What happens to Martina in this section? So we're going to summarize, we're going to sum up our main important parts of what happens in this section.
As was the custom, Martina would greet her suitors from the balcony, under her family's many watchful eyes. Daintily she sat down and crossed her legs, and crossed her legs, and crossed her legs. She didn't have long to wait. Don Gallo, the rooster, strutted up first. Martina tried not to stare at his splendid shoes.
So now we get another character, the rooster. So we have one character to add, that is the rooster. So what do you think? The rooster, is he going to be a suitor? Is he going to be a possible husband? Let's see.
Keeping one eye on his reflection, Don Gallo greeted her with a sweeping bow. Caramba, you really are a beautiful cockroach. I will look even more fabulous with you on my wing. With that, he leaned forward and crooned, Martina Josefina Catalina Cucaracha, beautiful muchacha, won't you be my wife? Martina hesitated only for an instant. Coffee, senor?
So let's look at our illustration. You see how he has these big, nice shoes. He even has a little insect cleaning his shoes. So he has rings also, a bracelet. So he thinks, he's fabulous. He's walking around. Now he's saying, oh, I want you to be my wife. Now, she says, coffee, senor? Now let's predict, what do you think is going to happen? You're going to have to wait till tomorrow to find out. So today, we're ending here. Now what happens in this section is that she meets the rooster. He asks her for her hand in marriage. But now she asks for coffee. Let's see what happens tomorrow. What do you think is going to happen tomorrow? So we'll read pages 202 and 207 tomorrow together. I'll see you tomorrow.